Good morning. Good morning. Today we're going to be taking a look at XRP, some questions about the Wyckoff accumulation, and the Sigma coin. So here we are. We are continuing our grind to the downside here. That does look like we're starting to get some positive confirmations here. We've got an oversold reading here on the 3-day, which we've been monitoring with this little green line that's shown up, this worm. We also have a almost print here for the candle for 3 days tomorrow, New Year. So in 24 hours, assuming we hold these levels, we should be able to see a green print again. So we did have a fake out green print right here. So that's understanding the importance of recognizing levels and having stop losses in place, assuming you get an invalidation. So as we print this green one, we'll go into those invalidations over here going forward. But again, a massive miss of this entire drawdown when this red dot appeared and gave us this exit ability right here, where we were able to exit in that zone and then avoid all this and avoid a 43% pullback is what we'd be looking at, assuming this candle closes, kind of right there. So pretty amazing potential return there. It's, getting longer cycles now, especially with the ETFs coming out, so expect longer movement in general. But you can see we've been fairly consistent. You'd be kind of in and out, a couple wrong footing here and there, but again, stop losses and position management is going to be key in these false kind of green areas that show up every now and then. But for the most part, you get most of the move, and you just kind of get to sit back and watch the show when you do exit into cash. So we'll be monitoring that, but officially in 24 hours, we will maybe close this green one with an oversold reading, which we have not seen any oversold readings going all the way back in XRP's history, even into these time intervals back here. We just that's the furthest back you got right there and right there when we were down in the 46 and 49 cent range. So it doesn't mean you can't go lower, as you see right here, but has not been this oversold in a long time on the 3-day. So, all right, so we're going to be checking into that over the coming days, just kind of strategizing on how to best look for invalidations on the shorter time frames. But I did get a question in reference to Wyckoff accumulation. So before we go there, though, we're going to just quickly check in on what we're watching. Wave 1, Wave 2, and we're just wanting to see this not be setting any lower lows. So we've been continually marching up our kind of view here. So at this point, we're kind of sitting over here now on this view of where we expect price action not to go below. If you wanted to be ambitious, you could pull it up a little bit higher and move it right to here, because we did kind of close this inefficiency gap. So we'll leave it here for right now, but ultimately right now, that's kind of where I would feel comfortable saying if we lose 184.17, that's going to be where I'm going to be like, okay, exit, we'll just wait for lower, right? But until then, we're just going to watch this price action here and see how we're playing. True invalidation, though, of course, of this whole move is down here at 182. But maybe you just want to cut your losses and just kind of watch the party a little bit longer. But I'm not super worried about this, simply because we do have the 3-day potentially giving us a entry level indicator. So now jumping over to the larger move here on the XRP, and we'll go to the 3-day on this chart. We have this Wyckoff question that was brought up yesterday. So let me get this a little bit more. Everything. There you go. So we've got XRP here on this larger flat structure that we've been monitoring and watching for these final legs to the downside, right? So we've got this flat play out here, and we ended up, setting this lower low right there for that capitulation. So with the flat, though, we have a question on what does Wyckoff end up looking like. So we would be looking at the initial impulse, and we would be closing in this BCLX region right over here. Come down, and you would do the ST, and then you would kind of chop to the sideways and do this entire resistance and support view, right? So here's your resistance, here's your support, and we would just kind of grind sideways through this resistance, pop up to the top of the range, okay? Which is what we did. We actually swept higher, and then you'd have this forever creek right here that runs all the way to the side. As you can see, this comes all the way down here. And in this schematic, the creek does not go below this region over here, which you can see we've basically just kind of come back to these areas right over here. And then finally, we break out to the top of the range, back test a couple of times. So potentially, we could be seeing $3 to $4 regions here. And as you can see, it's a fairly aggressive move, right? So you can kind of say that if we're looking at a 3-day chart here, assuming that this kind of move right here for AR to ST was looking at a window of time where we were sitting at, oops, let me grab that. This move ended up being 18 days, so 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? So somewhere in there. And then we know that this entire impulse here that ran up, that alone was not that long, right? So we had just this move right here, ended up taking us to that wick of 27 days. So 27 days could be a very different perspective on where you're at in this cycle. So a 27-day move from here would take us into end of January. We could potentially be back up into the higher price action and chopping here on top of the range in the $4. So before we continue onward. So this is an example of a Wyckoff accumulation schematic here in the mid-range, also known as a flat. And that's ultimately what we're watching right here. But I thought that was helpful because people have been asking yesterday in reference to what a Wyckoff would look like up here at these ranges. So hopefully that's helpful. And this is our bullish count, obviously, for the whole thing. So, and then Sigma, let's jump over here. Sigma has been working on its breakdown still. And as soon as XRP changes, Sigma will change. That's really just how simple it is. As you can see, volume is next to nothing, right? Just super low volume. And that is ultimately an indication that even though these rollovers are happening, it's not on any high volume. It's just the buyers have not stepped in. We did have a big liquidation that came in yesterday. But as you can see, it got back up. So it didn't take much, really, only $156. And we already moved up from a 523 market cap to a 537K market cap. So pretty easy at this point to just kind of start really getting a large position size if you were looking for it as we continue to flirt with these lower market cap prices. So longer the pullback, the higher the return. So just a return to the prior all-time high, 21x. So just getting there. I mean, just maybe you're not even that ambitious. You're like, okay, cool. I'm just going to get out at the 618. It's still a 600% move, right? So lots of potential here for the upside. And that's assuming that you are assuming that XRP really just doesn't perform. But if we do a double from here and XRP pops off, you would think we would get at least a double, right? Maybe there. I mean, come on, something like that. So the memes are going to be pushed up with XRP as XRP happens, but we've just been dealing with this forever creek that XRP has been running with. So, all right, so you have that right there. And then finally, I just kind of look at this every now and then. Just one more thing, just kind of keep your mind occupied, I guess, with positive energy through a creek, which is designed mentally to destroy you. And with this level here, you've got the liquidity to the upside. I just look at that and I just go, wow, lots of people shorting this thing, all assuming much lower in prices. And they're all over this thing, just all over it. So that's just kind of a good zoomed out view of where we're at. So we've got that happening. Sigma's working on trying to find a bottom still. We do have a good reaction off the lows here on the daily, so we just hopefully that will continue at some point. And it's again on low volume, so it's not something to be massively concerned about. It's just an opportunity for you to get great prices because volume is low. And then we bounce back over to XRP's Wyckoff. Seems to be pretty much in place, right? Where we would have an impulse back up to the top of the range, potentially in 20 to 30 days. And then finally, finishing with the zoomed in view, where we bounce over to the short time frames on the 36-minute, and we still have our invalidation down here at 184, and we're just looking for an impulsive structure to kind of take us out of here. So, all right, guys, hopefully that was helpful today, and we will check in tomorrow.